residents of Medicine Hat, Alberta, who get their utilities through the city are about to see some hard-earned cash come back to them. Medicine Hat's council just approved a very large utility relief package. To talk more about this and other ongoing utility issues and opportunities in the province is Drew Barnes, former MLA for Cypress Medicine Hat. He also has extensive background in real estate and business. He joins me now. Drew, welcome. Thanks so much for being here.
Morning, Jeanette. Thanks for talking to me.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've been hearing so much about utility prices rising and going through the roof, haven't we? But Medicine Hat City Council just approved, what was it, a $33 million in relief and utility relief. So this happened just September 5th. So Drew, this is huge news.
It absolutely is huge news, but let's put it in the framework where it started from. First of all, Jeanette, people in Medicine Hat, families in Medicine Hat are hurting. High taxes, high inflation, the economy here and the job market's not great. And all of a sudden, as people went off their fixed rate, the cost of utilities quadrupled in Medicine Hat. Now, we're very fortunate in Medicine Hat that we still generate our own electricity and we have the opportunity to sell to the rest of Alberta on the grid. But the long and the short of it, people's utility bills were tripling and quadrupling at a time they couldn't afford it. And secondly, Jeanette, our city-owned ratepayer-owned utility made $200 million last year. And at the same time, our city council raised our property taxes 4%. So Medicine Hatters are saying, hey, stop this growth in government. Please have some empathy for where I'm at with my family and my future, and give us a break. And city council partly responded with a decision last night to do that.
Yeah, and I mean, Drew, I'm sure a lot of people could applaud City Council for that. And my understanding was there were hundreds of people in attendance there for this council meeting because it really affects them. So what will this mean for these people of Medicine Hat who hold accounts with the city for their utilities?
Well, it will be initially. It will be a nice break. Yeah, there was like 550 people at a town hall a week ago, organized by one of our local restaurateurs whose utility bill had gone up to $3,000 a month. And I've seen some other restaurants as much as $10,000 a month now since the rates went up. But what was decided last night was every single resident of Medicine Hat and our local service area, which includes Dunmore, Cypress County, and Redcliffe, would also get some relief. And our small to mid-sized businesses would get some relief as well, totaling $33 million. The anxiety and the angst still, Jeanette, though, is that they've decided to defer the decision on what they're going to charge us in the future until their October meeting. And again, as people went off the long-term rates of 8 cents a kilowatt to it was almost 30 cents, Medicine Hatters are still wondering what October, November, and December are going to bring.
Yeah, well, at least it will bring a little bit of relief for them those months, because I believe it's $400, a relief payment of $400 on their bill for September, and then $200 in both October and November. So at least that's a little bit of relief. But it looks like also passed on the 5th was an investigation into how the city sets its energy rates. So that was passed as well, wasn't it? Can you maybe talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. The council passed a motion agreeing to look for a consultant, to look for some outside advice as to how they set their rates in the future. Potentially going to a municipally controlled corporation with more expertise, more outside involvement, potentially to look at the opportunity to sell it. Jeanette, one of the interesting things here is about 15 years ago, we had the opportunity to sell the Medicine Hat Oil and Gas Exploration Company for what sounded like hundreds of millions of dollars. The council at the time decided not to do it. And now that business has diminished tremendously in value, and the people of Medicine Hat are facing upwards of $200 million in reclamation costs for wells. So a decision that was made 15 years ago has cost the people of Medicine Hat greatly. And I just hope and pray that council gets this one right. And I hope they listen to Medicine Hatters as to what we want to do.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Are you able to maybe shed some light on whether the city has been making a profit from its utilities?
Absolutely, they're making, as the cost of utilities have gone up, electricity generation gone up dramatically for all Albertans. The city of Medicine Hat had budgeted somewhere between 25 and 50 million in profits from their electricity generation, and ended up making 200 million. And that's one of the reasons why the people of Medicine Hat are saying, okay, why, when you made 200 million, did you raise my taxes 4%? What's the benefit in it for me? Again, many of us in Medicine Hat want governments that spend less so they tax less. And and again, when you couple that with the hardship of people with high inflation and high interest rates and people struggling, it's not the time for a higher utility and higher tax rates. And so as the cost of electricity generation has become a hardship for many Albertan families, the Medicine Hat electricity, we've been in the business for over 100 years, has had the opportunity to have some profits. And what's the best way to help the people of Medicine Hat? That's the question.
Definitely, that is the question. So, still looking at energy in Medicine Hat, there was a meeting recently at the Cypress Center regarding utilities. Can you provide an overview of what happened there?
Yeah, absolutely. One of our restaurateurs, the Thai Orchid Palace, organized it. There was around 550 people came. The mayor and I believe it was three of our councillors came as well. And it was a real great opportunity for people to express, first of all, their hardship. Again, I saw utility bills in the thousands of dollars where people had to choose between paying their utilities, paying their mortgage, and what their children may need for school, as an example. And People spoke very passionately to the mayor and the three councilmen about the hardship. And again, the overriding thing was, we're making all this money generating electricity, but my taxes are going up, my utilities are going up. Where's the opportunity for Alberta families if we have to pay so much? And so this was the council's first step last night to rebate
Yeah,
33 million of that excess profits.
I was going to
And
say it sounded like they listened and they acted fairly quickly.
yeah, the question is it enough? When they have almost 150 million of excess profits generated, is giving back about, 20-25% of that enough to get Alberta families and Medicine Hat families and Medicine Hat small businesses through the hardship? And then again, people are concerned that if they don't do something with the rate that's charged, so if you get $200 off your November bill, but your November electricity and gas is quadruple, you're still facing hardship.
Exactly. So, Drew, are there alternative options that are being considered for Medicine Hat in terms of utilities?
Oh, there sure are. They're looking at how they set the rates going forward, and that was one of the things, Jeanette, that came out of this meeting at the Cypress Center a short time ago. The council decided about 10 years ago that they would take 95% of what the average was of three producers in Alberta. And a lot of people in Medicine Hat saying, why don't you come up with a cost plus situation where we can have the benefit of lower rates? And the mayor and those eight councillors now have to make the decision of the best way to protect our investment in electric generation, but the best way to make it so Medicine Hat families and Medicine Hat small business can prosper.
Yeah. How do you think that that option maybe aligns with the city's long-term goals are?
Well, I think that the city has to get their spending in line so they can not only give us the best utility rates, but they can get our tax rates lower as well. Jeanette, it's no secret out there that with high interest rates, high inflation, the high cost of living, and we're struggling a bit here as our oil and gas industry, has stops and starts. It's no secret that Medicine Hat and Alberta families need as much help as they can right now. So I would suggest that let's look at no tax increases for the foreseeable future, and let's come up with a fair return for electric generation for the corporation of the city of Medicine Hat that generates electricity.
Hmm. How would you assess Mayor Lindsay Clark's progress in following her election platform, especially in relation to the city's infrastructure?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. Um, the Mayor Clark, of course, defeated a two-time incumbent who had been on council for quite a while, and kind of the idea was to keep things local, whether it was local community, local electric generation. Medicine Hat prosper, and I don't know. I think it's been a 2 years of getting organized. It's been 2 years since the election, and her and the other eight council people have 2 years to go. So let's see what they do in the next 2 years.
Yeah, exactly. Now, there was a recent, I guess, a dust up, if you would say, between Mayor Clark and the CAO, the Chief Administrative Officer. Are you able to elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, yeah, I sure am. It was interesting. I also watched that council meeting as well, and Mayor Clark seemed to be challenging or questioning the CAO over the fact that policy wasn't followed. And the CAO, her rebuttal seemed to be, well, that she had told everybody and everything was transparent and everything was above board. And without knowing the exact ins and outs of who said what to whom and at what time, I guess I'll say this, Jeanette. I want politicians to be accountable. In my 11 years in the legislature, it was always frustrating at public accounts, and that I could never really, hold Alberta Health Services accountable. Or when I was questioning the health minister, Alberta Health Services wasn't there as an example. So I just hope that our elected politicians, our councilmen, our mayors, and our MLAs have a better chance to have value for how we spend our tax dollars. And then, as a voter, let's hold our elected politicians accountable and let's give them the opportunity to make those decisions.
Well, with that said, in your opinion, have the utility-related challenges of Medicine Hat, do you think that they've been more influenced by provincial issues or federal issues?
Oh, both for sure. The carbon tax that Alberta charges carbon tax to our big industry, and of course the federal government charges carbon tax to everybody. That has made everything so expensive, and of course the carbon tax, would because of our transportation, gets leveled into everything and makes everything more expensive. And then again, we're looking at all these renewables that have been added in Alberta. The more and more renewables they add, the higher the cost goes. So that tells you something. And absolutely, and because Medicine Hat is still generating electricity from natural gas, we have the opportunity to sell into the grid to the benefit of the rest of Alberta, and it's been a bit of an opportunity for sure. But of course, Jeanette, when you look at what the federal government wants to do with net zero, to get to net zero, and carbon capture and storage, and the great extra cost that will add to our utility bills, more renewables where we need backups, the great extra cost that will add to our electricity bills. There's some challenges ahead, and that's why I'm so glad to see so many medicine hatters come out and voice their good ideas.
Oh, definitely. Now, of course, Alberta is so rich in resources. So, what are your thoughts on maybe leveraging Medicine Hat's existing assets like irrigation and ranch land to support the city's utility initiatives or economic growth?
Oh, absolutely. We were fortunate here for many years. We had cheap, shallow natural gas. A lot of those fields are depleted now, and it's not, it's not there right now. But yeah, there's all kinds of opportunity to add more, you know, water irrigation opportunities. I mean, look at the tremendous success of Lethbridge and how much Lethbridge has grown, and the three potato plants that are there. And certainly in Medicine Hat, we'd like to join into that as much as we can and work with our southwestern neighbors. So yeah, as long as government stays out of the way, let free enterprise and let smart Albertans be creative and ingenuitive.
Yeah, no, interesting for sure. Are you able to discuss any specific initiatives or project related to utilities that you've personally been involved in or have plans to support in the future, Drew?
Well, I'm watching Premier Danielle Smith's moratorium on renewables that she put in a couple months ago and set for 6 months. I'm watching that very closely. And again, the more and more renewables we've added, it's just made our bills skyrocket. Secondly, we don't have a clear path to how we're going to reclaim this land when the solar farms and the wind towers are time to reclaim. So all these things have to be figured out. And again, I also am concerned that we don't have the adequate backup that we need for this. So I just would suggest that Premier Smith and the UCP, I hope they just didn't defer this decision down the road. Let's figure this out and let's make utilities affordable for Albertans.
So are you sort of siding with the UCP for halting those projects for 6 months?
Yeah, I think that I think they should make the decision. I mean, Alberta has built more renewables than anyone else. Our electricity bills have only gone up. I think it's time to take a pause and make sure that to make sure that things are affordable. Jeanette, one thing I will say, and one of the things that did surprise me that the city of Medicine Hat didn't do last night, was when you look at your utility bill. There's service costs, there's access costs, there's environmental fees. Uh, my personal house utility bill last month was half of it was just in service and access and transmission fees.
Yes.
It is so time to end those. So Alberta families have a chance to have some choice in life, to make their kids have more choices, to take a holiday, to get ahead, whatever.
Absolutely. Well said. Thanks so much for joining me today, Drew. Always a pleasure to have you on.
Oh, Jeanette, thanks again. Have a good
Absolutely.
day.
Drew Barnes is a former MLA for Cypress Medicine Hat with a background in real estate and business. I'm Jeanette Roche on behalf of all of us here at Bridge City News. Thanks so much for watching.